Hi everyone, this is Clara with Card-Stampin with Clara. Back with you this week to show you a new product that's coming out in the new yearly catalog at Stampin' Up. As you can see, I've made several cards this week. We'll show you how to make. I'm going to show you how to make this card, which I decided to make a thanks card or a thank you card, however you want to say it. And on the inside, it says not only for what you do, but for being someone so special. So that's the card we're going to make today. And I'm going to show you the set that it comes out of. And this won't be available now until June. The very first part of June, 1st or 2nd, something like that. But there'll be a new catalog then, and you'll be able to access it online if you choose. This set is called Good Morning Magnolia, and it does have a beautiful flower image, and it's big, as you'll be able to see a little bit more as we make this card. But it comes in 2 boxes instead of 1. It's got hello and thanks, an extra leaf in 1. And then it's got the sentiments and a real pretty bud in the other one. And also this pretty design for down at the bottom of a card. I used that several times during this week. So, like I said, I use this sentiment not only for what you do, but for being someone so special. Enjoy today. The journey of life is best shared with a friend. We'll get through this together and thinking of you. So those are the sentiments. I'll lay this over. And then in the die set, as you can see, there's lots of pieces, and I will show you which ones cut out various things as we go through the cards here in a second. But the big magnolia piece and some little pieces that makes the magnolia flower, some leaves, and different things, even a border, and this is the center of the flower and for the bud. So this comes as a bundle. So it's a little bit cheaper that way. It's about 10% off when you purchase it as a bundle. And anytime a new set comes out, that's really the best way to do it. So anyway, let's get started here. Hope you've had a good week. It's a little bit gray and cloudy with the sun peeping through here in North Carolina today, but that's the weather report, and we take it as it comes. This is another card that I did, and I put thanks on. And the reason I've got 2 that are so similar, I decided to make this as a featured card, but I wanted to do it a little bit differently than this one. I wanted to see if I could use just some solid cardstock where I colored in with the Mossy Meadow color on these leaves. The one we're making today is going to be some designs stamped onto the Mossy Meadow, and you'll see what a difference it makes. This paper that is goes along with this set is called Good Morning, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong thing, Magnolia Lane, that's what it's called. And there's some really, really pretty paper in it. This stripe is in that set, but that's not one of the, you know, kind of ones that kind of sticks out in your, you know, you look at it and you say, wow, this one is pretty and it makes a nice background, but you know, it doesn't have the wow factor that some of the others do. So this one's got the same sentiment in it as the first one, and these 2 cards, like I said, are almost identical with just a little bit of changing, and I wanted you to see the difference in those. This one I made into a happy birthday card with that big magnolia there again. I used a well-written set of dies for the happy birthday, which I am really enjoying using, these little things that you can just pop out and glue on. And this one's got a background of petal pink. As you can see, the colors for this set are petal pink, Mossy Meadow, and Early Espresso. And this one just says awesome at any age, but I borrowed that sentiment from another set. Here's one of the pieces of paper that I really liked. I thought it was so pretty. It's one that had all the little buds and things on it. And I used that die at the bottom of this piece to give it this look. Put a bow on it. And the sentiment, the die comes from a different set. The one thing this set surprised me is that it doesn't have a die for a sentiment in it. I wish it had, but it did not have one. Now you can cut, various things if it's nothing but a little rectangle. I'll show you what I did later for this first card to accommodate that need. But in this one says the journey of life is best shared with a friend. We'll get through this together. And I put this petal pink on the early espresso brown. So that's one that I did that was a bit different. This is the most different as far as color goes. I just stamped the magnolia and the leaves and placed it up on dimensionals on this pretty green that's got these little tiny leaves and things on it. Now this paper comes in the set with the magnolia, the beautiful, oh, I keep saying it wrong, Magnolia Lane, I'm sorry. The Magnolia Lane set of paper, that's what it's called, the DSP, the Designer Series paper. Okay, this one I just put Thinking of You on, put it on crushed curry, and tied a little bow out of crushed curry, and then I put a stamp of the bud on the inside, and the journey of life is best shared with a friend, etc. So this one's very different in color, where most of them are coordinated with petal pink. I decided to make this one coordinate with the crushed curry, and then I used crushed curry for the center of it just to kind of bring it all together. This one is a hello card, and this is one of the dies that has 3 different parts, 3 different segments that you cut these leaves out, or petals out of, and then you can kind of curl the petals up and give it some dimension. Then it's got the little center pieces that you can cut out, and then I put a little faceted gem in the middle of it, and put a little bow on it, and a hello. And this is some more of that paper that I was telling you about that I thought was really pretty, with some pretty magnolias on it. And a stripe is also part of that set, as you can see, all in the petal pink. And let's see, on the inside of this one, I just put true friendship is one of God's greatest gifts. That is from another set, though. Now, here's an example of a piece of paper from the Magnolia Lane set that's just got the buds on it. And because it just has the buds on it, I cut out 2 buds, stamped them, colored in just a little bit with the petal pink, and I used our new lacy die to put a little background in behind that, and cut out a hooray to make this a whole different card. And on this one I put time to celebrate. And the reason I didn't specify that it was a birthday, maybe it's a graduation that you need to send one to, and you just don't have a specific card, for an occasion that it could be either one. Kids are certainly saying hooray when it is graduation time, and hooray is definitely a thing that you would think of as being birthday as well, or some other kind of celebration. Okay, and this is the last one that I made this week. I went back and used our lace embossing folder, put a little piece on that, used some more of the paper from this Magnolia Lane, put a little bud on it, and put it on some layering. The layering dies cuts this out, and I just put the different borders around it as I saw fit. And there's enough variation in the color in the green, even though it's basically mossy meadow. I used this old olive baker's twine to tie my little bow out of in this one. That's wanting to stick up a little bit there. Maybe I need to curl it under a little bit, but anyway, it made a pretty little bow. Same thing here. True friendship is one of God's greatest gifts. Okay, I hope that that will give you some ideas as to how you can use this set, because this image is really large, as you can see. This card is 4 1/4 inches this way and 5 1/2 inches that way, and you know, it just barely fits on. So this is the card we're going to make, and there's going to be one variation that I need to tell you about because I was unaware, and I did not know it until I started to look up last night to make sure that I had the correct name. As you know, as I'm fumbling about the Magnolia Lane being the proper title for the DSP, I tend to get them confused, or you know, sometimes I call them things that they aren't, and I don't want to confuse you, so I take the time and try to look up the proper name for them. And as I was looking up last night, this came out of a set called, this piece of vellum did, a Floral Romance, but it's not available now. And I thought, oh no, I've got everything ready, and it, you know, I'd already made this card. So what I decided to do was to give you an option. There is a beautifully detailed petal pink laser cut paper that you can use instead of this, or you could just use solid. You don't have to have this vellum, but it was pretty and I like to use it. So we'll get the packet out here and show you each piece that goes into this, and we'll put it together and I'll show you how I made it. But I will be honest with you. I won't mislead you. If I know that there's a problem, I'll tell you. I'm really sorry that happened, but you know, it's kind of after the fact. Okay, we're going to get started with the card base like we always do. A thick piece of Whisper White, cut 8 1/2 inches by 5 1/2 inches, scored at 4 1/4. So that's the base of the card. This is the inside of the card, not only for what you do, but for being someone so special. I went ahead and stamped it, and I used that design for the bottom of it, which I think adds a little extra to the inside of the card. So I'll lay that over for later. If you hear something playing in the background, my grandson's toys decided they'd start talking to me. He's not out there, but they're out in the living room. And that might be, you may hear them, you may not, I don't know. But if you hear something that sounds strange, that's what it is. I say sometimes those toys are possessed. I'm not sure. Okay. This is a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock. It is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches because it's going to layer. Let's see, I'm going to move over. It's going to layer right on top of that card base. Then I have a piece of white, and the reason I have the white, and it is 3 3/4 by 5, is because I want this piece of vellum to lay against white instead of green. And you're going to see, I've showed you in the past, if you've seen my videos, if you take this vellum and you put it on a dark piece, I think you'll probably be able to see it's just not as pronounced. Look at that. Look at the difference. So the color that you put your vellum on makes a substantial difference in the way your card looks. So you might bear that in mind when you're using vellum, something that's going to show through. So that's going to go on top. And vellum is hard to adhere to cardstock without if you see the glue. If you try to put glue on the back of this, I just don't try. I mean, just pure and simple, I do not try. I use this Sizzix adhesive paper because it will stick to the vellum and then it will stick to the cardstock, and you've got one unit. The Sizzix adhesive paper, unfortunately, is going to be a product that Stampin' Up! Is not going to carry in the new catalog. I ordered a couple of extra packages because, frankly, it's a better buy than even Amazon was. And I will have to get it in the future at Amazon or somewhere else. But I do like this stuff, and I do use it on occasion. All right. All those pieces, the white, the vellum, and the piece of adhesive sheet are all cut 3 3/4 by 5. And you can go to my blog, go to my website at CardStampinWithClara.com, and you can get all the information as far as the measurements, the instructions. There'll be a picture of the card. There'll be links to the video when I get finished, and so just about anything that I could think of that you'd possibly need. Okay, for the front, this is what I'm talking about that I did different. I'm going to slide out this other card, the one that we first started with, that I told you was different. So you can see, if you stamp this one so that you can color in the flower and keep it one unit, then you pretty much have to either color in the petals or leave them white with just green markings for the veins of the leaves and things. Well, I wanted something different. At least I thought I did, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. So I stamped one of these onto Mossy Meadow. So I figured, okay, if I put this on Mossy Meadow, that will be my base unit to go on to the card. Then I stamped another piece, this same image. It's all together now. I don't want to deceive you. It doesn't come in parts. It comes in one image like this. So what I did was I stamped it using the Mossy Meadow ink pad. And then I had a unit that was like this, except, you know, this was all white and what have you. So I fussy cut this part out so that I could adhere it to that and make a unit. So it turns it into a 2-step process versus a 1-step. But I was using the watercolor pens, the Mossy Meadow, like, let's see if I have it here. I guess I just laid out the ones that I thought I would need. But here's the Petal Pink, the So Saffron, and the Early Espresso. And I used the one just like this in Mossy Meadow as well. So those are what I used to do the coloring with. So what I'm going to do now, we might as well just go ahead and get this prepared. I left a little bit more to do than I sometimes do. And then I also, the one other thing we're going to need here is the sentiment. I cut a piece, I believe it's 1 inch wide, and I'll put the measurements, the exact measurement. I just sort of measured it to fit the thanks, make it just a tad larger. And it was just a basic rectangle. Then I took this little 1/2 inch, I believe it is. Let me put my glasses on, make sure I'm telling you right. Yeah, 1/2 inch punch, a little 1/2 inch round punch. And you can get these at Stampin' Up! Too. This happened to be an old one that I had. But I'm going to show you how I made these little corners. We'll see if I can tell, make sure. All you do is you slide the corner in, and you just snip off a teeny little bit. And that way, you get that pretty little design all the way around. Just do each corner the same way. I'm going to bring it up a little bit more. Like I said, I hope it's where you can see it. But I did that both to the Petal Pink and the Mossy Meadow that I'm going to put it on. And then we'll glue these together and line them up in a few minutes. But if you don't have a fancy die to cut out a really pretty sentiment label, and you've got one of these, which are not very expensive at all, you just, you know, like I said, you just put the corner in. I'm going to show you just on a scrap piece here. And depending on how big you want it, you don't want to go back too far. It doesn't look quite right. But you see what a pretty little corner it'll make, and especially when it's a small one, a small label. Okay, first thing I'm going to do now is to get this ready, and we're going to take this marker, it's watercolor, and I'm just going to just put a little bit of yellow, so saffron, right in the middle. You don't want to go over it too much because the watercolor ink on this will run once it gets some moisture. So we just put a tiny little bit just to give it a touch of color. This espresso, early espresso, I used it. Let me put a little piece of scrap paper underneath. I just used it to color the stem of the Magnolia. Kind of make it look woody. I didn't try to take out all the green. I just added some of the early espresso, and kind of I'm going to go along the edges too so the white doesn't show where I cut it. All right, that's all there is to that. And the petal pink, most of the pink in the Magnolia is kind of down near the center of the flower. So just lightly, kind of with a whisking motion, go down and up. And if you look, this little part, see this little part, that's part of the petal folded back. So I'm going to go kind of above that on that petal behind it. So when you're doing this, you kind of have to look for the folds of the flower, the way they designed this. And honestly, there was a few I wasn't quite sure about. So you just have to kind of use your best guess and go ahead. That's about all you can do. And right here is one of those areas that I just wasn't totally sure whether this was showing us pink or showing us white on the petal. And this isn't hard to do, and it doesn't take but just a minute to do it. And I don't try to make it real harsh or solid. I just try to make it look, like I said, like it's kind of running out the veins of the flower petal. We'll come in here with this one. And it really does make quite a difference. You wouldn't necessarily think that it would be that impressive, but it does make a difference as to the way the flower looks, just to add that little bit of color, and especially depending on what kind of paper you're putting in behind it. It makes, I mean, it's going to pick up that petal pink in the vellum that I'm using today. And like I said, there's some laser paper that is called Beautifully Detailed Laser Cut Specialty Paper, and it is in petal pink, and I think it would work just fine to put in behind this. It won't be the exact same design, and some of the designs will be cut open. It's not necessarily a solid piece like this vellum, but I think it would look pretty in behind. All right, I think that's all I'm going to do to that. And I'll get some glue. And I decided, you do this any way you want to, but I decided the best way to do this was to put the glue onto this piece, not the flower itself, and I'll show you why. So what I did is I certainly didn't put glue anywhere that I was not going to put the white flower on top of it. You don't have to do it this way. If you don't think it is worth the trouble, then, you know, just cut it out and color it. Or cut it out as an outline, as you saw on one of them. I did that. The only thing that I colored in was the very center. Just put a tiny little bit of yellow there. Okay, I'm not going out too far. Oops, my lid got away, but I'll get it in a minute. Okay. What I did was I lined up the stem first. It just seemed like that was the place to start because it's small. And then I tried to center it, leaving a tiny little edge like is in the image itself. And once you get it placed, that's all there is to it. Then you have the distinct dark green, mossy meadow it's called, and the petal pink and the white. It just makes it look a little bit bolder, and you can see all the veins in the leaves, which was something that I really liked, is by just using the mossy meadow ink pad and stamping onto the mossy meadow cardstock. You got a really nice thing. You know what? I don't believe I put enough down there. Maybe I didn't put any down there. That is not sticking. There is a reason for that. As I would say to my grandson, silly grandma, she's done it again. So, if I ever have any that, and this is what I was trying to avoid anyway, that gets too close to the edge, you can pick it up with a little pokey tool. Either this is an old one or the new one, either one that I've got, doesn't matter. All right. Let me get the glue off my fingers, and we will proceed. Because once you get a little glue on your fingers, you're going to stick to everything. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this piece too. You don't have to. You didn't have to do it in this order, but it's laying here, and it'll be ready then. So we'll just go ahead and put a tiny little bit of glue. Maybe. If you folks out there have questions, if I fail to present this in a manner that is understandable or leave out some little something that you'd like to know, go to my website and send me a comment, make a comment and ask me whatever you might need to know. If I don't know, and I don't pretend to know everything, I'll certainly make an effort to find out for you. Let's see if I can get that. I think it'll be all right. Okay. All right. Now, those two pieces are finished, but I wanted you to see how I put those together today. All right. Now we're going to go back and start building this card base. The first thing that I'm going to do is to get this vellum. And you need to check the side if you're using vellum. There's different kinds of vellum that you might want to use. But if I haven't told you before, there's a little border. And the top layer just peels away so easy. And then I take my fingernails basically and hold that edge and then start lining it up as carefully as I can and as evenly as I can. Okay. Now, you can take a bone folder. You don't have to, but you can take a bone folder and kind of run across that. And all that does is that just make sure that the glue, the adhesive, is on this vellum. And when you pull it off, you'll have it on the vellum. But it is It is so easy to, and when you look at this, you cannot see one single spot that looks like globby glue. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, then you take and you peel the back part off. I'll lay this over here where it won't cause trouble. And I'm going to carefully put this onto this white, Whisper White cardstock. And you might have to use a finger or fingernail or whatever to get this exactly where you want it. Okay. Right there is a little black speck of something. You know, I seemingly draw these things from God only knows where. I don't. But I don't want it there. I don't like it. We're going to get rid of it if there's any way possible. It's like this tiny little piece of fuzz that came out of nowhere. And I can't say that I'm a total perfectionist. I'm certainly not as much that way as I used to be. I'll say that. But I don't want that there. I know what. I've got this little thing, and honestly, I forgot what they're called. The Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell them again. They're almost rubbery, and what they're for is glue removal. And if you've got a little speck of glue or something, and you just cut edges away as you use them, but it will pick up. It's amazing. Okay. But it will pick up a little tiny bit of glue or just, you know, tiny little piece of black or whatever. I wouldn't be without one. Like I said, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell them, but Amazon does. Okay. There is just a tiny, tiny little bit of edge. I'm going to try to cut just as straight as I can. I'm not the greatest at this. That might hang out if I don't trim it up just a little bit. Sometimes I just use my paper trimmer to do this. Yeah. And it's just easier than doing it with your scissors, but it can be done. Okay. All right, I think that's going to be good. Then that is going to be glued to this piece. And I believe that's going to be fine. All right. Let's take this glue and make another, layer another piece on. See how that's going to look now. Like you've heard me say before, I have to kind of get it up where I can see it. Press it down nice and flat. All right. Now, we're going to stop as far as putting it on the card. We're not going to do that just yet. We're going to put our image on. And we're going to think in terms of where we want to put the thank you or the thanks. All right. I'm basically going to put this piece as close to this right-hand side as I can, and I'm going to use dimensionals on the back of this. I think it looks a little bit better that way. I keep mine in a little plastic bag. Okay. And it does take several to put on this back. I think I counted about 10 I used on the other one, 10 or 11, something like that. These just lift off this little sheet, and in a second, if you've not used them before, you'll see me flip the protective coating off of the top of them, and you will find them all over your house. If you're like me, they cling to your clothes. Okay, now I'm going to take a little piece from the side because the stem there is not obviously wide enough to put a wide dimensional on, and that's what these little edges are really great for. So yeah, okay, all right, now then, this is what I'm talking about. They've got a little protective covering. You just take your little pointy tool, pick your tool is the correct name. I noticed that coming out in the catalog is a little brush head that fits this thing. And you can brush out your dies and things. I already have one of their brushes, so I don't really need one for this, but if you don't have one, you might find that that would be very beneficial to know. Let's see. It usually doesn't take long to put these on. Usually don't have but 3 or 4 that you need to put on, but this is kind of unusual. I do think it's worth doing it. Okay, now let me push those back out of the way. See there, there's one on the other side already. Okay. I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just going to position it the very best I can. Now, this is hanging over a tiny little bit, but it won't be on the card. And that's the important thing. For this, I decided not to put this on dimensionals because I'm going to slide it right there under that little part of the flower. The only thing that was slightly difficult, I thought, was getting this thing straight. I don't know, it was harder than sometimes I've had. I mean, it just, I don't know if it's a kind of an illusion or what, but I think that's straight. All right. Now, while that's setting up just a tiny little bit, I'm going to reach over here and get, these are called faceted gems. They come in clear. I've got a hitchhiker. I'll put that somewhere else, a tiny little thing. And, well, there's one came off. Anyway. They come in large and smaller sizes. These are the clear ones. And then they come in gold. And then what you can do with these clear ones is what I did with these 3. Which is take an alcohol marker. I don't have a petal pink. So, I don't know if there's going to be any petal pink in the new catalog or not. Excuse me. It's getting warm in here. But you can take something like the Coral Calypso, the light one, or I think I used Flirty Flamingo on that first one. But something that you can just coordinate the color with. That's all I'm trying to say. Now then. If you want to be triply sure that your faceted bead does not come off, or gem, they call them. Since that one had come loose, I'm just going to put a little glue dot. They come in a roll like this. Pardon me. And I'm going to put it right there on about where I want to put this. They do have an adhesive on the back. And you normally don't need this. But I don't like things that come loose or fall off, so I'm going to be sure. And there again, so I'm just putting these little colored ones on that blend. And if you notice, when you have a clear one, sometimes it will sort of take on the color around it. It's kind of amazing how they do that. But this just adds a little bling. That's up to you. If you don't want to put it on there, you don't have to, but kind of adds another little interest. Okay, now then we should be able to finish this thing. But I've been really pleased with this set. I think the Magnolia image is just so pretty. I'm a fan of flowers anyway. Okay. Put a little glue on the back of this now. And get finished up here. I just thought this vellum was pretty, and I had some left, and it just didn't occur to me that they might be sold out of it. And it was in the Occasions catalog, which is coming to an end. And I thought, well, it'd be a great time for people to be able to get some of this vellum before the catalog expires, which is going to be May 31st, I think. So there's a few more days to get things out of that Occasions catalog. And then it will be the annual catalog thereafter. All right, we're going to open that up. Put our last piece on. If any of you don't know, the Big Shot die cutting machine will not be in the new catalog. Oh, Clara has messed up sure as a whirl. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to put this down, and we won't have a border on this one. I didn't trim it off. I will usually like to have a border like this one. See the white border? Well, this one doesn't have one. But there's nothing to say that you have to have one. So, hope I didn't get it up too far. Maybe not. I'm going to come back. I think there's just a tiny bit larger than it needs to be. So I'm going to come back. I'll just get my paper trimmer and trim it real straight. It's just a tiny bit too wide. But apparently I just forgot to do it. Thought I had everything ready. Well, I do make mistakes. I am human, and I don't even try to hide it. No point in it, because you're going to find it out anyway. But you get the idea as to how to make the card. And I do think that these cards turned out pretty well. I like the pretty flower, like I said. And I hope that you will enjoy using a set like this too. I'll bring to your attention one more time that I have a host code for the rest of this month, and then I'll be changing it. This one will expire, and we'll have a new one. But this is still good for May. Got a few more days left in May. You use it if you purchase under $150. If you purchase $150 before shipping and handling, then please don't use the code, because you get $15 worth of Stampin' Up freebies. If you spend $160, you'd get $16 worth. And there's a graduated scale. If any of you out there would like a catalog, please let me know. The public will be able to get those right after the 1st of June. So you can start ordering the new stuff if you find something that you like. Like I said, all this paper that I showed you on these first cards, are part of this Magnolia Lane DSP. So, again, I apologize for using a piece that's not available now, but there's lots of things that you can use in behind this flower. You can use the striped, or you can use just the solid petal pink, or what have you. There's just a lot of different ways to do it, as you've already seen. So let your creativity lead you and do what you like, not necessarily what you see me do. It's just an example to give you an idea to build on. That's all in the world it's for. So that's the big thing, is the catalog coming out. I do have that paper pumpkin kit from March. All I was asking is that you leave a comment, and maybe I should be mentioning this at the beginning of the video instead at the end of the video, but on June 1st, I'm going to draw a name, and whoever has left me a comment will go into the group of names. And so far I haven't got a single comment. My sister left one, but that's not going to be put into the group, and we had to do some revising, and so I don't think it's even there now. But I haven't had any comments. I mean, you would think somebody wouldn't mind taking a minute to say, hey, I like this set or that set or what have you, but so far that has not happened. So if you're interested in getting that free kit, no strings attached. Just leave me a comment. I mean, I'm not asking you to buy anything. If you don't have a demonstrator and you'd like to have one, I'd love to have your business, but it is not related to this particular promotion. Nothing is related to the particular promotion except the comment. But like I said, I would love to have your business. I am seriously considering selling some of these cards. I've not got it set up yet, but I reached the point that I don't need this many cards. So when I get all squared away and set up, I'll let you know about that too. So y'all have a really good day, a good week, and I will see you again next week, and I'll have a new set for you, and it will be something in the new catalog. So thank you for your time. The good Lord bless you and keep you and your family. And enjoy your weekend. And I will see you on Friday before Memorial Day, I guess. Thank you.